Today we're going to talk about 5 foundational PPC ad copy tips just for B2B advertisers. So if you're in the B2B space, these are going to be great tips just for you. When you're doing PPC, kind of a best practice is you want to create the perfect match to see the best results between your audience, the buying process stage they're in, and the message that you present to them and the offer that you present to them. If you kind of mix and match these and you get these out of order and you don't match them correctly, you're setting yourself up really not to see the best results from your efforts. So if you'd say like buy from us to an audience that's just in the awareness stage and they're just looking for information, again, you're probably not going to get the best results. And so a lot of the tips that we're going to go over today kind of match up with that concept. But the first step in writing great ads, right, and to be able to match your offer and your message with your audience is to know your audience from the crowd. So online and with a lot of the PPC platforms out there, they give you the ability to reach pretty far and wide and to reach a lot of different kind of people. And if you're not careful, you'll get a lot of clicks and a lot of costs from people that just aren't interested in your offer. So if you first know your audience, you'll better know how to speak to them and better know how to get the clicks that you want. So generally in PPC, there's a lot of sort of these tips with writing ad copy, from including the keyword in search text ads to, fear of missing out, using the word you, creating a sense of urgency in the B2B space. If there's like sales, you don't want to miss out on a sale or you want to get it before the sale's over, stuff like that. But today we're just going to talk for a little bit about tips that are just for B2B advertisers that you see there on the right. And these are ones that, particularly are effective when you're trying to reach a B2B audience. And so you want to really make sure that when you're setting a foundation, you're setting yourself up for success when doing B2B PPC, that you incorporate these practices into your ad copy. So tip number 1 here is to clearly pre-qualify clicks. So as I mentioned, right, casting too wide of a net on the internet really through these platforms. An example of doing this might be, let's say, my example B2B company is in the energy saving space, and they're offering automation devices for rooms and buildings in different industries. So when they go to target, they might have different forms of targeting that they're going to use to reach their audience. For instance, they might choose the keyword through search of energy savings, people searching on any query with energy savings in it. Maybe a website they put ads on would be breakingenergy.com, about energy news. Or maybe they target people that had the interests of building management in their profile. So the issue here is that you're going to get a pretty wide reach with those, but look at the possible impressions that you might get. Your ad might show on a query like energy savings calculator. If your ad's on a website, it might show to a visitor that's in the oil and gas industry. If you're a person that's interested in building management, you might be someone who manages an apartment building. And so if you're targeting all those people, right, they're not exactly totally relevant to what you're offering. And so you're probably going to get, clicks and cost related to those people. From those people, they're going to go to your site or interact with your, social profile page or something like that. And, not really feel like that they're a match for what you're offering and just quickly bounce away. So, that's kind of the tension in B2B is that, B2B doesn't have quite as large of a reach as B2C typically. So to get a wide reach, you typically need to target, right, these more general audiences. But when you do, you can end up with a lot of clicks, right, from those people that just won't be interested. So we have to combat that in our ad copy. So, yeah, typically when you do PPC, right, you want your ads to be clicked as much as possible, right? We try to cater our ads to get people to notice them and to click them. But really the goal is we really only want the right people clicking them, right? And so we've got to incorporate some ways of doing that. So again, like if you're writing ads, typically in PPC, you might think, well, click-through rate, is really a measure of success. But here's the thing. When you're trying to pre-qualify clicks, having the highest click-through rate really should not be your goal. Because if you have a high click-through rate and you have a low conversion rate, you're going to end up with a high CPL, right? And that's really not what we want. So if we're going to pre-qualify our clicks, how do we do that? What are some of the ways in which we're going to attract the right type of click to our site? Well, the first one's granularity, right? So if I'm that company that offers, devices for rooms to save on energy, that automate the process, right? I don't just offer thermostats. I actually offer thermostats for rooms in hotels, hospitals, and other commercial buildings. So you can see here how I'm pre-qualifying by mentioning the type of building and really the type of industry and, the fact that those thermostats are for rooms and maybe not for larger, industrial type spaces, things like that. Another way is pricing, right? The higher prices that B2B typically demands really are going to disqualify your non-audience members. Business types or sizes, right? If you use qualifiers like enterprise, small business, SMB, to communicate who your offer's for, you're also communicating who your offer's not for. And so people that aren't in those spaces should shy away from your ads. What industries you serve, right? You don't want to communicate that you offer something for every industry if you don't. So if you only serve specific verticals, mention them. Right. In my case, I'm only for like hospitality, education, healthcare, industries like that. And so I want to make sure that people know that. And job titles, right? If you only are speaking to CEOs, well, if you mention that, you can really stand out if you speak right to them. Last one's location. Sometimes people are sensitive to where businesses are located and who they do business with. So even though you might serve a particular area and your campaigns might be targeting that area, there might be some people that just don't want to do business with someone outside their state or a certain geographical area that you're not in. So tip number 2 is to purposefully differentiate from competitors. So this is one of those things that's going to defend against a long sales cycle, because the longer the sales cycle, really the more important it is to communicate what sets you apart. Right? In B2C, with things like creating a sense of urgency or fear of missing out, there's a sale going on and you can really kind of get consumers to overlook maybe your brand or what differentiates you for the actual sale that you're offering. Well, in B2B, that's not quite the case, right? So if you were to say, try to use, fear of missing out in B2B, it just doesn't really fit with the long process that people need to go through to vet different companies, to compare them, to present the information to, other stakeholders and decision makers. So really what you want to focus on is what makes you an apple among oranges, right? So in my example, if I'm offering all these devices that are going to save energy in rooms, well, there's multiple companies that do that, right? So why am I any different than anybody else? And why should the prospect pick me as one of their companies that they're going to vet during the longer process? Well, the reason they might do that is because my products integrate seamlessly with popular technologies, right? So let's say a hotel, for example, already has technologies in place and any new devices they might get, if they need a whole new system, to implement those, well, that might be over their budget. It might be too costly. It might be too much of an inconvenience. And so if I communicate that, you know what, I can just integrate on top of your current platform seamlessly, no problem. I can also be scalable over time, meaning if you don't have the budget right now to purchase all of these devices, we can just go with thermostats to start and then kind of layer, new devices on as time goes on. So that really allows for incremental budgeting on the part of the prospect or the customer I'm dealing with. So right there, right? If nobody else offers that in the industry, and I do, I've just set myself up to be one of the chosen companies that the prospect is going to vet in the long term. So tip number 3 is boastfully establish trust and credibility. So again, in a longer sales cycle, it really comes down to that, right? Why should I trust you? Are you a credible company that I should include in my process to vet? And so some of the things you want to highlight to prospects include like things like awards that you've won. Big one is reputable customers, right? If I already have Marriott Hotels as my customer, and I mentioned that, isn't that reputable? If I have a testimonial from someone at Marriott, or I have a case study that highlights how we have saved money for Marriott Hotels, well, that's going to be a huge, huge element of trust and credibility. It's going to go a long way with other prospects, other hotels in the industry. So other things like certifications, experience, and other relationships that I might have that would establish that will be things you want to highlight. So tip number 4 is carefully promote appropriate offers. So going back to the first slide again, right? We want to be appropriate with what we're offering to our audience at the appropriate stage. Well, how do we do that? Well, there's different stages of the buying funnel, right? So the first stage is get in my funnel, right? These are people whose behaviors give no indication they're aware of your solution or that they have a need for it or anything like that. So what you're trying to do at this stage is just gain awareness that you exist. So the audiences are going to be just based on, firmographic characteristics like job titles, business, size, industry. Again, they've done no behavior that indicates that they know about you or interested in what you're offering. So your purpose here isn't going to be, right, again, not to say buy now, not to purchase from us, but to drive a connection. We want to offer them some kind of information that's going to make them aware of how we're improving people's lives like theirs. So to gain this awareness, I might, present some kind of messaging like, see why your hotel may be missing out on saving 20 to 40% on room energy costs. And so kind of creating this intrigue, sort of this awareness that other hotels are saving money. And we're just saying, hey, come see why. So my offer might be watch this video, read this case study, something like that gives them some kind of information that piques their awareness that we exist and we can possibly help them. KPIs here are going to be engagement metrics, of course, view rate, likes, shares, that kind of thing, comments, anything that gets them engaging with my content so that they're aware we exist. So kind of the next stage is right top of the funnel. Instead of driving awareness, we're going to drive interest. Behaviors here, maybe they search with generic keywords like building energy management. So they're kind of in the mental zone of energy management for buildings, but they're not exactly looking for, automated devices for rooms, right? The more specific area. And maybe they engaged on social media with my brand to share an article, or something like that, and they liked it, they shared it, etc. They've shown some kind of behavior that they're interested in what I'm doing. So my audiences here are going to be both new and returning, so retargeting. So those people that showed awareness by viewing a video or reading a case study, something like that, I can retarget them. And my purpose in this stage, show how my solution basically fits into the grander scheme of what they're searching for or concerned about or interested in. So my message here, is going to, again, point out what I'm offering in the grander scheme of what they're interested in. So if they're interested in building energy management, and they've shown that by their behavior, I might say, learn how smart occupancy sensing devices are changing the way buildings manage their energy. So I'm kind of creating this focus or this interest on, the devices I'm offering within sort of this larger framework of what they're thinking about. Offer here be something like download our white paper. And KPIs, of course, would be leads and cost per lead. So you're establishing a connection by offering them information they want bad enough to connect with you. So moving along to the middle of the funnel, these people have shown expressed interest. They've done actions like specific searches, right? Not generic searches like building energy management, but they're actually looking for what we're offering, thermostats for hotels. Or maybe they did download content in the top of the funnel stage or contact us or something like that. These audiences are going to be both new. Let's say they search for that specific search. That could be a new audience. They could be returning because you got them interested in what you're offering. And so they're returning by doing that search, or they had downloaded the content, or they're connected. They gave you their information. Now you have a list in your CRM system of their information that you can use to target online. Our purpose here is to be persuading the customer that you're a choice for them. So you don't need to persuade them that what you have is interesting or anything like that. They're more in the stage of making comparisons, starting to think about purchasing, and you want them to really get serious with you. My messaging here is going to go back to that differentiator, right, that I pointed out earlier. I might say something like learn how our devices will integrate seamlessly with your energy management platform to help you save. So again, how do I set myself apart? Well, I integrate seamlessly. And so I'm going to use sort of that angle to get them to engage with me further. Offer here would be something like receive your free energy audit, right? So they've already downloaded our content. We already know they're really interested in what we're offering exactly. And we want them to take the next step and not make just a soft commitment to us by reading our content, but to make more of a serious commitment by actually engaging with us to do something that's more time intensive, requires more commitment from them by receiving a free energy audit. So my KPIs here are going to be contacts or cost per contact. Lastly is everyone's favorite, right? Bottom of the funnel. This is where you get the sales. But, remember, bottom of the funnel really is just, how well you do here is just a reflection of how well you filled the funnel and how well you push people through it. But when you get to the bottom of the funnel, the behaviors are basically they've already interacted with your sales team. They've gotten the energy audit, that kind of thing. You know who they are, and they're on your radar, and you're on their radar. So these audiences are both returning, they're connected, and ultimately they have been sold by you to come back and purchase. So the purpose in this stage is really to make the purchase process really straightforward. You don't want to frustrate the customer in any way. So a lot of usability issues here. Basically, you're just sealing the deal. Make it easy for them to call you, get back to them right away, stuff like that. My messaging to this audience might be, integrate today, basically, is what I'm saying. It's time to do it. You've been through the process. You know you want it. So integrate today. So my offer here, contact us now to get started. APIs, contracts, and lifetime value. How much value are we driving from the people that contact us? So tip number 5, the last one, strategically place the right calls to action. So once again, you don't want to ask an upper funnel prospect to buy now, of course, right? It's counterproductive. They want information and answers. So you want to make sure you place the calls to action with the right messaging, with the right offer, with the right audience. But common choices in the get in my funnel stage, right? You just want them to watch something, see something, view something, or read something, things like that, where they're engaging you. When they get to the top of the funnel stage, well, then we're going to learn, we're going to follow, we're going to connect. In the middle of the funnel, we're going to make a little more of a commitment here. We're going to contact or request or start or verify. And in the bottom of the funnel, we're going to close the deal. Call, register, purchase, check out, donate. So make sure, the things that you're asking your prospects to do make sense for where they're at in the process. So that's it. Those are ad copy tips that I believe, if you're a B2B advertiser, are really, really important to implement, are really foundational to having success and getting the best results with your campaigns. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you need any help with your campaigns, do that as well.